You know, you've obviously had an extra 36 hours now to reflect on the Yeovil game. Are there extra things which you've picked up from your analysis and perhaps just your thoughts to prepare yourself for tomorrow?
Yeah, you always do that. The minute you leave the stadium after you've lost, we look at the computer and we look at the stats and we look to see whether people have been as poor as we thought they had, whether where the goals have come from, who's actually made the mistakes, are they making the same mistakes week in week out? What do we have to work on? And that's straight after the game on the coach coming back. And then we have our review on the Monday, so we let the lads know what our views are on the game. Today I'm going to actually do something that I haven't done, where I just want to talk to them individually, because some of them were given a job to do, and I blame myself a little bit at the start because I put some square pegs in round holes. I thought they would be round pegs in round holes, but those people knew the job that they had to do, but they didn't do it. So my mistake in the first place, but obviously their mistake because I had faith in them to do the job I was asking them to do, and unfortunately we didn't do it.
How well do the players take, I don't know if you want to have it to be a blame game, but actually identifying those who perhaps haven't quite come up to the mark, is it important, and how do you address those without completely destroying their confidence?
I think we've got a group that's not really into that blame game. People sometimes think that I've blamed the players, and I read that sometimes. But we're all trying to do well for each other, and even though the lads are not necessarily playing well at the moment, some individuals, they're not going out there meaning to not play well. Some of them are a little bit young and inexperienced, and some haven't played at this level before. Some haven't played against a team like Yeovil before. I mean, Yeovil, our success during our successful time up to the Championship was all about a high pressing game and a proper high aggressive pressing game. And our boys, although I showed them on the DVD, I've explained to them, I showed them in training, a couple of them still didn't handle it early on. And so it's not a blame thing, it's something that we've all got to get out of it together. And as the manager, I can get upset with a few of them, but then they get their chance to review it as well. They all get their individual packages that they look at, their individual game and the team game and the game, and they're all watching it now. So I'm hoping that in time, when that becomes part of our culture, they'll start seeing whether they're affecting the game or not. And if they're honest, which most of them are, they'll learn from it.
How key to go and have a game so quickly to try to then get their confidence back?
If we win it, it'd be good. Obviously, sometimes you need a little bit more time, if you like, to work on a few things. We've been working on a lot. I mean, George watches all the training sessions and that, and we've been working on a lot of stuff. And as I've said before, it doesn't always come out in the game straight after, but it's a gradual and a general information that the lads are taking on board. And then when you get a team that are fully fit, you get the team that you feel is your best team and your fittest team, strongest team, then that's all still going to be there. And we need to get to that stage as soon as we can.
How do you work on confidence in order to try to make sure that the players really feel that they can go out against almost anybody and get a result?
Well, confidence comes a little bit from within, doesn't it? And it's funny because a famous person said a sentence yesterday that I remembered, and I'm going to mention it to the boys today, that if you give someone a little bit of confidence, their world changes. Sharon Osbourne, X Factor. Honestly, she said it. So we get a result this week, she can take the plaudits. But it is so true that if, and that's what I've got to try and do. That's why I'm going to have individual chats with them. We're going to look over their game on Saturday, the ones that played, and say, could you have done better? If you could, if you're worried about something, what are you worried about? I'm not going to drop you. I don't want to drop you. I'm not looking to drop you. how do you give confidence? You know, sometimes that comes from within. Once the manager says he's got confidence in you, which is why I selected them in the first place, then it's got to come from within. And you know, what you're worried about, what they say, 95% of things you worry about never happen. You know, so that wasn't the X factor. That was me.
What are the particular challenges of Stevenage? What do they bring in terms of particular challenges, or will you just try and play your game and almost not worry too much about what they might bring?
No, you've got to play your game, but you've got to be aware of what their game is as well. I think they're a little bit like us at the moment, whereas they would have been disappointed with their result against Exeter, and Exeter, I think, had 10 men, although it's always difficult to play 10 men sometimes. But you know, it's a game where the team with the most confidence will, and the team that does play their own game because of that, will come out winners. But then both teams have got to be battling, you know, that's a given. That's the first thing you've got to do when you're individual and team battles.
Conscious of time.
You mentioned the square pegs round holes on Saturday. Is that something that you've maybe learnt and
I've done that a million times, and it's come off 3/4 of a million times. You know what I mean? So I've done it for the right reasons. And you know, obviously, at the end of the game, I'm the only one that can make a decision before the game. In hindsight, everyone can make a decision. Yeah, it was a crap decision, Gaffer. It was a sort of poor start with people, but I wasn't necessarily putting loads of people in the wrong positions. It was just, it wasn't the one that, say, Dickie was used to, and I thought he would have the power and the energy and the ability to get up and down and win tackles, etc., etc. And unfortunately, the two young lads were a bit too young, wouldn't have played against that type of opposition before in their faces, and so I had to make the change and went back to where we'd been in a different shape, put people in sort of different areas, and we got the game back a little bit. And Dickie had a great chance to make it 3-3. And I felt when we got back to 2-1, the third goal kills you a little bit just before half time, but we got back to 3-2 and had all the game at that point, and really it just would have took a little bit more quality. I remember Dickie having a chance, we had another chance just before that, so you know, we could have got the game back.
It's the flip side of having to maybe experiment a bit, because you're still struggling, and some players are still struggling to nail that spot down.
Yeah, you've got 3 or 4 that have probably nailed their spot down. Then you've got lads coming back from injuries. You've got lads coming back from a bit of a lack of form. You've got young lads that are inexperienced at the moment. No, all teams have got these problems as well. The easiest thing to do is pick the same team that won the last game. That's the easy thing to do, and then hopefully you just keep that going. I mean, last year when we started, we more or less had the 1 to 11 for the first 12 games or something. But unfortunately, we haven't had that this year, and so you're scratching around a bit to get the pairings. Couple of centre halves, right winger, right back, left winger, left back, 2 strikers, 2 midfield players. You know, it's like you're looking to get who are the pairings that are conducive to each other, if you like, you know, and then you get an injury like Rowie was doing really well, and then he gets injured, so then you've got to change it again. Then Dates came back, and then he was out again. Amari came back, then he was out, now he's back. It's a difficult one, but we just got to get through this difficult period, and we will.
No, you say hindsight's a great thing, but you were quite strong about the need for certain to step up quite early in the season.
Yeah.
Do you maybe look back on that now and think maybe it's a bit strong saying that, or is it still something that you're very happy with because you were trying to get that extra 20% out of them? Yeah,
well, we're third from bottom in the league at the minute with 7 points from 9 games, and that's not enough. That's proving that we're not there yet. And I need these boys to realise that there is improvement in them. There is a better game in them individually and as a team. If individually they're not cutting the mustard, then as a team we better be working hard. We better be stopping the opposition from getting at our back four as often as they are at the moment. So, those are the thoughts that I've got to keep passing on to them. And it's not an easy league. It's everyone. You're not suddenly going to go to, all due respect, a Guiseley or like a team that's part time. All the teams are full time, and it's all like playing every week the top of the conference, if you like. The bigger, better sides. And so you have to be ready for that. And at the moment, there is still some improvement to go individually and team-wise. And if it's not working by the time you can make proper changes, then obviously people might find themselves on the transfer list.
Just finally, any progress on the 3 injured players? Are they back in the thoughts yet for Tuesday, or is it more likely for Saturday?
Well, it's the reason why I was late here, I apologise, is because I was talking to the physio and a few of the players and that, and I don't think there's anyone that's going to suddenly miraculously become available unless they get to Lourdes in the next 10 minutes and are able to get there and back by tomorrow.
Excellent.
No problem.
Fantastic.